On 9th of March, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Arunachal Pradesh during the day-long trip. He inaugurated several developmental projects, and among all of these developmental projects, one was of key significance, and that was Sela Tunnel. Situated at about 13,700 feet, this tunnel would connect Tezpur to Tawang, which is a very bordering region with China, and China, which has always contested India's position on Arunachal Pradesh and has called Arunachal Pradesh as part of extended territory of Tibet. That is the southern Tibet. That is what China considers Arunachal Pradesh. And now, with the visit that Prime Minister Modi has done to this, most bordering state, Chinese government has reacted sharply. They have come out with a statement that says that they are not very happy with Indian leadership visiting this bordering state. And the spokesperson of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs has said that Chinese government has never recognized the so-called Arunachal Pradesh illegally set up by India and firmly opposes it. The China-India boundary questions has yet to be resolved. India has no right to arbitrarily develop the area of Zangnan in China. Zangnan is the name that China gives to Arunachal Pradesh. Also, the statement further says that India's relevant moves will only complicate the boundary questions and disrupt the situation in the border areas between the two countries. We know that in the last 2-3 years, the situation along India-China border has been tense, escalatory in nature, and there have been skirmishes reported. Even after Galwan clash, there has been multiple skirmishes that has been reported in the past, but officially there has not been much that has been told. But the tensions remains high. There is, thousands of troops from the both sides which have been engaged. Heavy armory has been deployed, and the complete disengagement is something that the two sides are wishing. And there have been multiple rounds of talk, both at the military corps commander level, and diplomatic engagements have also happened both at Beijing and Delhi, where the leaders have tried to not only diffuse the tension along the border, but they have also tried to disengage completely and go back to their earlier position. That remains unresolved. There are multiple friction points where the troop deployment is something that is not acceptable to either Chinese side or the Indian side. Now, the statement that has been released by the Chinese Foreign Ministry has further says about the Prime Minister's visit to the state that China strongly deplores and firmly opposes the Indian leader's visit to the east section of the China-India boundary. We have made solemn representations to India, and this issue of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Arunachal Pradesh has also been raised with the Indian government. At which level that remains to be told to us. But we understand that some diplomatic engagement has happened where China has raised the issue of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Arunachal Pradesh. In the past also, wherever there has been some cabinet ministerial visit or any senior leadership from the Indian government, they have visited Arunachal Pradesh. China has always opposed to it, to which Indian government has a standard reply that Arunachal Pradesh remains an integral part of India, and in that area, any operation, any developmental works, any visit by the Indian authorities or Indian government official or Indian leaders is subject to India's prerogative, and that is very much part of India's mandate, and China has nothing doing with it. But having said that, the strategic importance of Sela Tunnel, Prime Minister's visit to Arunachal Pradesh, and now China's sharp criticism to all this comes at a time when India and China have been finding it really difficult to disengage along the friction points, especially in the Ladakh sector. And there have been multiple, about 18-90 rounds of talks, which has yet to yield some substantial result on complete disengagement. There have been, de-escalation, of course, because of the leaderships trying to talk it out and multiple senior level engagement. But the complete disengagement remains unresolved. And meanwhile, this entire boundary dispute has resulted in multiple verticals of bilateral ties. That is people-to-people exchange, business ties, economic ties. That has also have their bearing because of this border dispute. We saw several thousand of Indian students could not go back to China to study because China did not issue them visa. There is no direct flight connectivity, and this is all part of what has been the Galwan clash, and after the spillover that has kind of frosted the relationship that India and China once had a few years earlier. With the latest visit by the Prime Minister and the strategic importance that the Sela Tunnel has now given to the Indian authorities or Indian border troops. This remains to be seen how China is going to react to it. Because now we know that Prime Minister Modi has vision to have as many developmental works, especially in the bordering areas. And the lack of motorable roads was one of the key issues that was hindering Indian troops deployment, especially in the hours of urgency. And with such long unmotorable roads at such about 14,000 feet of height, now Indian troops will be able to deploy at the frontier position, and that is something that has not gone down well with the Chinese side, and they are objecting to it. Clearly, the dominance of China, especially in this region, is now being challenged by India, which is not something that China has probably imagined. And the sharp criticism of Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs about the visit of Prime Minister of India to a state which is under the sovereignty of Indian state and Indian constitution is something that China has now objected apparently, and they have raised it with the Indian authorities also. We'll have to see how Indian government reacts to it, what kind of a statement is issued by Ministry of External Affairs. But for now, we know that China has reacted to Prime Minister Modi's visit to Arunachal Pradesh and the developmental works that India is doing in Arunachal Pradesh, which the Chinese side has called Zangnan for a very long time, and they consider it as part of extension of Tibet and not considers Arunachal Pradesh as part of India.